Imagine it is a Tuesday morning in July 2026. You wake up, grab your coffee, and check your dashboard. Instead of 500 tickets about slow Wi Fi or a flickering BGP neighbor, you see a single green checkmark. Below it, a log entry says that at 3 a.m., the system detected a suboptimal routing path caused by a fiber cut in Ohio, rerouted all traffic through a secondary provider, notified the vendor for repair, and updated the security policies to prevent a potential DDoS exploit targeting that specific bottleneck, all while you were sleeping. The question on everyone's mind isn't just whether the machines are getting smarter, but whether there will even be a desk for you to sit at in 18 months. Will AI replace the network engineer in 2026, or is it just the newest, shiniest tool in our belt?
That sounds like a dream for the sleep-deprived engineer, but it also sounds like a pink slip waiting to happen. If the AI is doing the detection, the rerouting, and the vendor notification, what am I actually doing? Are we looking at the extinction of a career path here?
Welcome to CloudCast, everyone. I am the Network Ninja, and today we have our resident curious mind, our student, joining us to tackle the big one, the 2026 deadline. Look, I get the anxiety. If you look at the pace of generative AI and AIOps over the last year, it feels like a freight train with no brakes. But before we panic, let's look at what we are actually talking about. When we say AI is replacing an engineer, are we talking about the person who types the commands or the person who understands why the commands are being typed?
Most junior engineers like me spend a lot of time on the how. How do I configure this VLAN? How do I troubleshoot this specific OSPF adjacency? If an LLM can generate a perfect config in 3 seconds, my value feels like it's evaporating. Isn't that the core of the job for most people?
Think of it like a master plumber. If a robot comes along that can solder a pipe perfectly every single time, is the plumber out of a job? No, because the robot doesn't know where the pipes should go. It doesn't know that the homeowner wants to move the kitchen to the other side of the house next year, or that the local building codes just changed for high-pressure systems. The how is just the labor. The why is the architecture. By 2026, the labor of networking, the manual CLI entries, the basic troubleshooting, the log sifting, that is going to be heavily automated. If your job is just being a human interface for a command line, then yes, 2026 is going to be a very uncomfortable year.
So we are moving from being the mechanics to being the designers. But even then, can't AI design a network? If I tell a sophisticated AI that I need a redundant, low-latency network for a 3-story office building with 500 users, it can probably spit out a topology in a heartbeat.
It can spit out a template, but networking isn't a math problem with one right answer. It's a series of trade-offs. It's like a city's traffic system. An AI can suggest where the roads should go based on traffic flow, but it doesn't understand the politics of why a certain neighborhood doesn't want a highway through it, or the fact that the soil under Main Street is prone to sinkholes that the map doesn't show. In 2026, the network engineer's job becomes one of intent. You are the one defining the intent. The AI is the executor. We are moving from the era of manual configuration to the era of intent-based networking, supercharged by AI.
Okay, so let's break that down into the first big shift. If I'm not typing commands, what does my daily workflow look like? Am I just talking to a chatbot all day?
It's more like being a pilot. Early pilots had to manually adjust every flap and watch every gauge. Modern pilots use a massive amount of automation. They are there for the critical 5% of the flight, the takeoff, the landing, and the moments when the sensors disagree. By 2026, your daily workflow will involve reviewing the AI's reasoning. You won't ask it to configure a switch. You will tell the system that the finance department needs guaranteed 10 gigabit throughput with total isolation from the guest Wi-Fi. The AI will propose the configuration across 30 different devices. Your job is to audit that proposal. You are the safety check. You have to ask, does this align with our company's security posture? Does this configuration create a single point of failure that the AI overlooked because it was optimizing for speed?
That sounds like I need to know more, not less. If I have to audit the machine, I have to be smarter than the machine, right?
Precisely. That is the secret no one tells you about automation. It doesn't lower the bar for knowledge, it raises it. If you don't understand the underlying protocols, how can you tell if the AI is hallucinating a config? If you don't understand how BGP attributes work, you won't realize that the AI just accidentally created a routing loop because it tried to be too clever with a route map. We are shifting from being practitioners to being orchestrators. You're not the violinist, you're the conductor. The conductor doesn't need to play every instrument, but they better know exactly how every instrument is supposed to sound.
Let's talk about the physical side. This is my second subtopic. Networking isn't all software. There are cables, racks, power units, and physical failures. AI can't go into a data center and replace a blown power supply or reseat a transceiver. Doesn't that mean there's a hard floor for how much we can be replaced?
You hit the nail on the head. We call this the layer 1 reality. No matter how many trillions of parameters a model has, it doesn't have hands. It can't see that a rot chewed through a fiber optic cable in a riser closet in a warehouse in Topeka. However, what it will do is change the way we handle those physical failures. Instead of you spending 4 hours running cable tests to find the break, the AI will use telemetry from every port in the building to triangulate the exact 6-inch section where the signal died. It will then tell a local technician exactly what to do. The engineer in 2026 will be managing a physical digital twin of the network. The AI handles the diagnosis, but the human handles the intervention.
But what if companies decide they don't need a high-level engineer for that? What if they just hire a low-wage technician to follow the AI's instructions?
Some will try, and those are the companies that will have catastrophic outages in 2027. Because when the AI says replace cable A and the technician replaces it, but the network is still down, you need someone who understands that the issue might actually be electromagnetic interference from a new elevator motor next door. AI is great at patterns, but it's terrible at out-of-context anomalies. The human brain is still the world champion at connecting dots that aren't on the same map. That's why the job isn't going away. It's just shedding the boring parts.
Okay, that makes me feel a bit better. But what about the third topic, security? We're seeing AI being used by hackers to find vulnerabilities faster than any human could. If the defense isn't also purely AI, won't the humans be too slow to matter?
Security is where the most radical change will happen. By 2026, the boundary between network engineer and security engineer will basically vanish. You can't build a network without it being a security-first architecture. We're moving towards something called continuous adaptive risk and trust assessment. Imagine a network that changes its own topology every 10 minutes to confuse an attacker, or a network that isolates a single laptop the millisecond its behavior deviates from the norm. A human can't manage that manually. You'll be managing the policy engine. You'll be setting the rules of engagement for the AI defense system. If the AI detects a breach, it might ask you, I can shut down the entire regional office to contain this, or I can let it run for 5 minutes to trace the command and control server. Which do you choose? That is a business decision, not a technical one. AI can't make business decisions.
So it comes down to accountability. The AI can provide the options, but a human has to take the blame if it goes wrong.
Exactly. You are the human in the loop. In 2026, you are essentially a risk manager who speaks fluent packet. If a hospital network goes down, you can't point at the AI and say, sorry, the algorithm made a mistake. The board of directors wants to know why the engineer didn't have a failsafe in place. The accountability is your job security.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. You're saying that the grunt work of the 2010s, the stuff I'm learning now, like subnetting and basic CLI, is becoming the assembly language of networking. We need to know it to understand how the machine works, but we won't be writing in it every day.
That is the perfect aha moment right there. Think about programmers. They used to write in assembly, then C, then Java, now Python, and now they use Copilot. Did the number of programmers go down? No, it exploded. Because when you make it easier to build things, people want to build more complex things. In 2026, companies aren't going to say, great, the AI handles our simple network, let's fire the staff. They are going to say, great, the AI handles the simple stuff. Now let's build a multi-cloud, edge computing, ultra-secure global mesh that connects our factories in 5 countries. We are going to build networks that are so complex, they would have been impossible to manage 5 years ago. And we'll need engineers to oversee that complexity.
So my roadmap shouldn't just be about getting my CCNA or my CCNP. I need to be learning data science, or at least how to manage AI systems?
Yes, but don't abandon the fundamentals. If you don't know how TCP works, you are a blind pilot. Your roadmap for 2026 should be 50% core networking fundamentals, 25% Python and API integration, and 25% AI orchestration and ethics. You need to learn how to talk to the AI to get the results you want. This is what people are calling prompt engineering, but for us, it's really just architectural requirement definition.
It's like we're moving from being the people who lay the bricks to being the architects who understand the structural integrity of the whole building.
And the building is getting bigger and more complex every day. The demand for connectivity isn't shrinking. We have IoT, we have augmented reality, we have remote surgery, we have autonomous vehicles. All of that relies on the plumbing. The plumbing just got smarter. If you're a plumber who only knows how to use a wrench from 1950, you're in trouble. If you're a plumber who knows how to program the smart home water management system, you're the most valuable person on the site.
So, if I ask you point blank, will a junior network engineer be able to find a job in 2026?
Yes, but they won't find it by searching for junior route switch engineer. They'll find it by searching for network automation analyst or cloud connectivity specialist. The entry-level job of 2026 will look like what a senior architect job looked like in 2016. You'll be managing systems that manage systems. The barrier to entry isn't a CLI anymore. It's your ability to understand the system as a whole.
That's actually really exciting. It takes away the part of the job that I find the most tedious, the triple checking of syntax, and lets me focus on the actual logic of how data moves.
Exactly. No one actually likes memorizing sub-interface commands. We like solving the puzzle. AI is just a tool that solves the boring puzzles so we can tackle the giant ones. So to wrap this up, the replacement is just that, a myth. It's an evolution. In 2026, the network engineer isn't gone. They've just been upgraded. You're not being replaced by AI. You're being replaced by an engineer who knows how to use AI.
That's the takeaway for me. The machine is the engine, but I'm still the one with the map and the destination.
Well said. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive on CloudCast. If you're listening to this and you're worried about your career, stop looking at the AI as a rival and start looking at it as your most talented, slightly eccentric intern. Train it, oversee it, and use it to build something incredible.
Thanks for the clarity, Ninja. I think I'll keep my certifications, but I might start spending more time on my Python scripts and my architectural theory.
Smart move. To our listeners, stay curious, keep your pockets flowing, and remember, the network never sleeps. But with the right AI, maybe you finally can. I'm the Network Ninja, and this has been CloudCast. We'll catch you on the next hop.
See you then.